Yeah, normally I don't like go and cruise up on these channels because there's so many of these like celebrity type of, drama things. But these people actually did a pretty serious breakdown of this thing. There were things I never even saw. Like I guess there was guys even just outright going, "Yeah, I gave him a quaalude, did or whatever they gave him." And then got him raped. Basically, it's no different than Cosbying those girls, and the general public was totally pro rape a kid. So I don't know where these people are like, this is abnormal. I'm like, no, you guys have all been all over each other naked the whole time. Hmm. And you're supposed to fall in love with a god who's a man. Yeah, I think there's a lot of people that are in a closet, and there's some disgusting people like Madonna that wants to pull out Ricky Martin. So apparently Ricky Martin's also part of this cult. This cult is from India, the Hindu thing. Okay, so holy shit. Yeah, I was like, one day I was going through the Hindu thing, and they were breaking down like how they view women, and it's atrocious and pretty bad. And then, but also they promote like women to be violent. I mean, they can be violent and beat up their sons and stuff, and then you can't say anything bad about it, right? And I go, no wonder they go off and kill all the women. Like there is a dynamic that's going on that's like so bad. And but I actually brought up the cult. It's a real cult. It's a real cult. And I feel that these conspiracies may have spun out on stories that I put out. And there's a good reason for that, I think, to steer you off. And the BBC, I mean, even beyond me, but okay, so the BBC did a documentary in 2004. So I wasn't on the cult topic yet in 2004. They put these stories out, and I'd never heard any of them. So it wasn't a thing like I heard it and I disregarded it. What was happening was I was working 24/7. Some friends of mine at my work told me about the Bodhi tree. And I gave this story on an old video. I did multiple videos on it, but I can't find the other one. I don't know if it's because I titled it wrong or somebody tried to take it down. I have no idea. But there's a secondary one that I found and I put it back up. And it tells you the story about how this came about. And so I would go over to the Bodhi tree and I would buy all these books. And I think I did a reading over there just for hell's sake. And I was talking about all this like kooky stuff, but it was sort of like entertainment, like this kind of thing. And it was sort of this level, not like I'm a total zombie for some cult dude. So no, I was reading all these other people because it's a little different realm than say the cult shop, right? Where I'm reading about, when they're teaching you more about like pagan stuff, witchcraft, like that realm of world. This is a different thing where you're talking about gurus from India and shit, stuff from all over the place, right? So I was like, oh, I haven't really read all this yet, so I'm like, let me pull out all this stuff. So I pull out all these things, and then these women that went to Tibet and met the shaman healers, all that kooky stuff. And then how she concluded basically people make up stuff with their mind. It was really interesting. It was like I had a pretty good education there. I mean, you read only about a handful of that stuff, and then you get the gist of that whole universe. And then in the middle of that was the LOA cult, right? So that's a whole other group of people, but they all kind of intermix in this weird thing. And everything that's involved with this stuff is male supremacy. I keep saying, it doesn't matter what they're going on. There's a male head. And even if it's not a male head, it's still somebody that's teaching male supremacy. And we all got to submit. And then we're at the bottom of the totem pole, right? It's like this thing. Okay, so this guru, this pile of shit, sociopath, I call him the Trump of India. He's basically the Trump of India. Because what did Trump do, right? He's like a con man. He started owning all the businesses, and he just wants his name slapped on everything, right? And then he sexually assaults everybody, right? Okay, so this is like the Trump of India. And he was, it's unbelievable to me because it's a guy that pops golden eggs out of his mouth. And they believe it to be real and from higher up. Okay, I mean, there isn't anything on earth that can get me to believe that. But apparently half of Hollywood fell into this universe, and I believe it started maybe even with, was it the Beatles? I don't remember. There was a group of people from the 70s, the hippy dippy people, right? They started following this cult. And this cult leader is basically a gay monster. He absolutely is. That's why I'm bringing that topic up. I go, no, no, we're going to pull it out. Because I would say probably all of them are, if there's a male godhead and you're saying put women at the bottom and all you want to do is hang out with men and jump in a swimming pool with them. Yeah. Okay. Um, I do think that there's this underlying head problem with all these men. And they're grooming little boys so they can touch them and be close with them. And you're supposed to fall in love with them, right? Because that's how they get them into their cult. And so that's the dynamic, the hook and sinker to any religion under the sun. They're all cults. I mean, they're all cults. There is no separation. Let's be real. For some reason, they want to do a separation. No, they're cults. Period. And government wants to allow it because it forwards and progresses a couple of things. Male supremacy and organized crime, right? It's for people that can get away with doing a million things. Oh, it's my religion. Yeah, no. What religion is a bunch of women where they're like making men at the bottom and we're totally global? That doesn't exist, right? So in this cult, it had a major underbelly of organized crime. So they were killing victims over there, all kinds of shit. And Hollywood's over here going, love, love, and giving millions and millions and millions of dollars to this cult psychotic, right? He's raping little boys, right? This isn't a thing where they're like, we don't believe. No. As I just put on the clip, right? What did they say? Oh, I certainly believe it's true. Why would you believe it's true to begin with, right? These people are fine with raping little boys. That's number one in that cult. Two, they don't care because you wouldn't be okay with it and then not be into that. So yeah, okay. So they're just outright admitting we rape kids and we don't care and nothing's going to change that fact, right? They do this with women too. Obviously, they were all rapists, so they don't have any problems with raping women. So if you're fine with raping women, you're fine with raping anything, period. All y'all out here, you're a hot mess. So it's like a super PAC of organized crime, okay? So this guy, the owner of the Hard Rock and House of Blues, or whatever, it's a group of these guys, right? So it's Isaac and Belts. So Belts is one that was related to the person that I knew, right? There was a whole setup on me here, and LAPD was trying to run out of the story. So LAPD was totally involved in this too. All these people, these are the only people I'm talking to at that time, okay? They left me for dead. They were trying to harm the shit out of me. And I was like, holy shit, I don't even know who these people are. And like, go meet up at the Beverly Hilton with these rappers. I've been talking about that story for over a decade. Because I was like, I want to know the names of the fucking rappers. Because I'm trying to figure out who they're with. Because Nygaard had a group of them too, right? But you're going to see something in the story where everybody's intertwined. So it's sort of like, at some point, it really doesn't matter. It's part of the same universe. And, no woman is going to go in the middle of the night to go meet two fucking rapper gangbanger dudes that want to have drinks with me when that wasn't what they were supposed to do. Because my friend told them what they were supposed to do. They didn't do that. So I told them what they asked me to do. And he's like, I can't believe they be acting like that. That's what he said. Now, is he a part of it? I don't know. I can't tell you. But if he's friends with these two cult members, I don't know. I wouldn't have thought anything at the time about it because I had the book and I wasn't on the topic yet. Like, when did I find out? It happened, well, no, I think I started finding out in the middle of this portion because I found out I was on MySpace and I started posting pictures of the cult leaders. Well, not cult leaders, the gurus, right? That I was reading their books and I put photos in my MySpace and I was talking about, meditation and, this. And then I was dealing with the LOA people and all this stuff. And then one day I was doing a search and then I ran across a bunch of victims. And at that time, it was hard to know the credibility because the sites that they were on were like, maybe foreign sites or just, they were very random sites. And I go, is this real? And I started going down this rabbit hole. It was just like the Jeffrey Epstein thing, right? I found all these sites where people were talking about what he did, long before any of this other stuff. And, I was like, holy crap. And then I found out this guy from the Hard Rock, or the House of Blues, was piling money to the guru. And I go, I don't know. This is unreal. So, yeah. And I'm like, he doesn't care? Okay, he don't care. Yeah, so, then there's other media sources about it. So, LA Times does this thing where they were trying to do, let me pull, is it still up? Okay, so this is the initial story, and there's probably way more stories, and I've never even gone through them. I just know some of the people who are involved, which is Ricky Martin, those two fools, and then they start naming off other people, but it's kind of questionable. But it's like, okay, after the 2004 documentary, okay, as a musician, if you heard that guy saying that and you still went and played at the House of Blues, you're part of the problem. So that money was funneling over to India to rape some little boys. And I was talking about that. I go, is this like the biggest human trafficking enterprise ever or what? And so when the victims came out, they wouldn't try to kill those people. That shit was fucking funky ass. And so when the guy from the House of Blues is talking, he's essentially telling you. So this is what he's telling you basically. I'm fine with raping kids, and if I was told to go murder people, I will do it for my guru. And we'll show you his mentality starting even in 94, okay? And he's actually been with him for a long time. And this is where that Dan Aykroyd thing came up too. I go, I didn't hear nothing about no Dan Aykroyd, but the Tigris and the belt. See, they leave belts out of the story in these things, which is really interesting. I guess he's sort of like this background man with him in Thai. And they go in this thing. Yeah, so they open this club, they open this place, and they go, the public is a steady stream of celebrities and high-profile executives. Visitors since the club's May opening include Madonna, Kevin Costner, Cher, Bob Dylan, Sylvester Stallone, and Oprah Winfrey, Walt Disney, and the CAA chairman Michael S. Ovitz, and billionaire financier Marvin Davis. Whether he can sell Hollywood on his vision of racial harmony through music education for kids is the biggest. This is scary, right? If you guys listen to the clip of him talking, him with kids is frightening, right? And he's a cult member, so his thing is to try to get people into their cult. That's another thing about this. And so it's kind of gross that he's targeting people of color here. And that may be why the connection with P. Diddy and him in this portion is when he calls himself Puff Daddy. I don't even know where that came in, but somehow it does. It goes, whether he can sell Hollywood on his vision of racial harmony through music education for kids is the biggest challenge for him. He's a shrewd businessman who made millions of dollars as co-founder of the Hard Rock Cafe, right? My master, this is the most ridiculous paragraph in this whole thing. My master, the Indian Swami Sai Baba, put me up to the whole thing. I am a robot devotee, and it's not because I'm a good person. It's because he want me to do this because I'm a dumbass, and I'm into kids, you know what I mean? So we want to get the kids up here and get some people of color. That's why I'm like, holy shit. I mean, there's a calculation here, you guys. And they go in the bill after, okay, so my master told me to do this on his decision to come to Los Angeles after building successful House of Blues branches in Cambridge, Massachusetts, New Orleans. Tigger's goals for Los Angeles Foundation are formidable, not to mention cosmic. We want to be the beacon of light in a sea of darkness. And yet, did you hear what he said? I mean, that's the darkest thing I've ever heard in my life. Even if he murdered somebody, I still love him. So do whatever he said. Yeah, that's him. Even if he raped a whole bunch of kids, and I know he did, that's what he was saying. While some surely gravitate towards the light simply based on perceived cat shit. My cat shit. I was like, cat shit. Yeah, the story is shit. The early response is mixed. In a town like Los Angeles, where the place to be seen monthly, it's tough for any club to attract and hold a loyal following. I mean, Tigris plans to launch his first program, in the 90 days, which will consist of bringing school children to the House of Blues for a 4-hour session on the history of American music, starting in Africa. I mean, you want to talk about a pander? Like, this thing is really bad, you guys. It's really bad. It's really bad. It sounds great, doesn't it? It sounds like he's this good guy. But he even says in here, it's not his idea. He says it's not idea. My master, Sai Baba, put me up to this whole thing. But I'm a total sociopath and I don't mind murder and raping kids. But my Swami told me to do this. Yeah. Multi-millionaire, dude. This is the industry, though. These people make up the industry. They're part of it. And Ricky Martin was the one, I called him out. So, a couple things. So, there's victims that were coming forward and he did not even, nothing, okay? Then he had allegations. Then those allegations went away. You need to understand this cult. And it could be any cult. It could be a Christian cult because they've been covering for each other the whole time, right? That's a cult. This cult right here will do the same thing. So will Scientologists. So will the Mormons. So will anybody. What group of people won't do this, right? This is how they intermingle. And why they can make pro-rape laws together, even though they have very different degrees of beliefs. And in here, and it's all for men, right? Yeah. Okay. Okay, so Belts. Let's go back to Belts because I've talked about him before. Okay. Belts is one of the truly unique characters in an industry that is filled with characters. He is a partner with his longtime friend, Isaac Tigre, who is co-founder of the Hard Rock and one of the founders of the House of Blues. He and Isaac continue to build hospitals and water systems through the Sri Sai Baba, the fucking Baba shit. Okay, trust for the poor in India. So they have abused the poor in India, okay? So they do things like this, but then they go rape the kids over there. Okay, so he is a businessman with interest in food, hotels, and entertainment, and he has devoted much of his life to a deeper understanding of our true role in this world through his longtime relationship with a spiritual advisor. He knows to the line item the studio equipment package he might broker, and he is a member of the Clinton Global Initiative. He thinks worldwide, but he seems so local, equally at home at a water summit or behind the bench at his beloved Memphis Tigers lost in the Sweet 16. He moved to Encino near Los Angeles in 1990, but he hasn't lost his Southern gentleman charm. Okay, so this is the relationship between those two. So the guy that I know knew him. Okay, and then so they told me to show up at Belts' house in Encino in the middle of the night and say that my buddy here told me to come here and to say that he sent me. And I refused. That was the creepiest thing ever. And it's even more creepy now that I know this additional story to the entire picture. Again, if you just read these things separately, you know nothing about the cult. You would just think, oh, that sounds like a good thing. These people sound great. Oh, fuck no. Okay, so here's the story that comes out. Eric Belt, producer and son of Gary Belt, owner of the House of Blues, said, I've had the honor of producing Music of Your Life's radio show for Peter Marshall for several years now, and look forward to working with various entertainers for the celebrity radio shows. Okay, so that now he has a son, and then these other people get pulled into it, and so we've enjoyed our relationship over the years with Eric, and we're thrilled about the opportunity to launch celebrity radio at the House of Blues in the near future. The decades-long history of facility is palatable as you walk through the hallways. The Belts family also owns the House of Blues in Nashville, which has been birthplace to records with Jamie Cullum, The Knack, Steve, Goo Goo Dolls, Puff Daddy, The Wallflowers, and many more. And we're proud to be part of such an iconic part in music history. Yeah, so that's what I got in this. And I was like, well, his name gets dropped in. The additional things with these rapper guys, I have no idea. I don't know if they're related to him. I don't know if they're related to the Nigar people. I have no idea at this moment. Like, when I went through my stuff, I found the Belts name, so it was there. And I go, Belts? Because I thought it was Isaac. Because when I was looking on the wiki, it pulls Isaac and Dan Aykroyd, and I go, well, I guess it's Isaac. And then when I was looking further, I was like, oh, they have a third party, Belts. And it was written in my notebook. So I was like, yeah, Belts. And he lived in Encino. So yeah, it fit the information I was giving anyways, regardless of that fact. Okay, so what happened here? This is in India Today. So there's things from LA Times. We have India Today. We have pretty credible news sources, and the BBC did a documentary with them straight up saying they're fine with raping kids and murder. They're fine with murder and raping kids. Keep that in mind. They're fine with murder and raping kids. Does that sound like something good? No. The year 2000. In the year 2000, okay, allegations of sexual molestation continue to dog Sai Baba. Allegations of sexual molestation continue to dog him in the 75th anniversary celebrations. But will they stick? This is terrible. What happens when faith shatters for the former devotees of Baba? It's as if in an instant they have lost their God forever. And you know what? Women don't comprehend this, because for us, like, if you're attracted to men, this whole concept of things, you think it's normal because you're supposed to fall in love with your leader and fall in love with this male god. But put yourself in a man's shoes here for a second. They're supposed to fall in love with the male god. And they do. And they get touched. And they think it's of some spiritual nature. And you're going to see the excuses in here of what they actually think. And I'm pretty sure they're all in the closet. Something weird. Like, they're getting groomed into the religion so the head people can go and touch everybody. And when these people left, like, the Mormon cult, and also, not the cult, there was a bunch of Mormon cults, those any of that stuff. And also, who is the other one? Oh, the Duggars, right? So when they left those things, they have no concept that in the rest of the world of what's going on. So they think their thing is separated and it's just solely on them or something. I don't know. I go, you're not out of a cult. You're legitimately not out of a cult. And one of the biggest cults, in America is Christianity. So you're not out of it. But secondly, this is actually the oldest. I believe they're considering a Hindu. I don't know, but these gurus anyway. Okay, so the Hindu thing is one of the oldest religions, I guess, in the world. And it's one of the most horrible, as well. And they literally rape everything under the sun over there, okay? And also, they're very uneducated and poor in many parts of India. I can't say everywhere, but there's a lot of a hot mess over there, okay? So somebody like this comes in and starts taking advantage of everybody, and they're not very capable of distinguishing that this person is a fraud. Okay, so it makes him more disgusting to me, because it's taking advantage of somebody who has a lower intellect, okay? Just for his own selfish purposes, okay? It is devastating experience that transports them from promised moksha to a private hell. A disillusionment that has 3 stages: denial, grief, and outrage. Okay, so right now, me, part of a 2% that's not part of any cult. We're not part of any cult, no religion, nothing, okay? When I'm speaking, the denial hits me. So the village, think of the village, idiots. The village is not having it. The cult is not having it. And this is every single person that is following a religion. They're not having it. So what does the cult want to do? They want to censor. So the cult censors. There's nobody else I would censor. It's somebody that's part of some type of cult. Male supremacy is the main denomination that's part of every single one of those things. But they want to start censoring, and they want to start taking away education. They want to start doing these things. And you'll see how it comes together. And they need to do it because they want to keep up their facade, you know. And for the people that got duped into it, there's a number of things. So they're horrible humans, right? So yeah, they are. Mostly if you're okaying raping children and murder. Okay, I don't think there's anything under the sun that could sit there and get somebody to that point unless you're already a psychotic. But anyways, those people have done major harm to other people. So by admitting that what I'm saying is true and correct, which it is, means that they would have to take into account what horrible, atrocious humans they are and face that about the harm that they did to other people, right? So you have a lot to fight against with that because most people will not confront what a shitty ass person they are. And I talk a lot about, you know, those things from childhood, you know, like this thing and the horrible thing with the cheeseburger. You know what I mean? Those are the horrible things I've done. But these people legitimately have done atrocious things such as murder, rape, and covering up crimes, being part of criminal activity, like really legit, really bad crimes, okay, on people and children, and abuse kids and all sorts of stuff. So they have an incentive to not take on to what we're talking about here, right? So they'll make up things like, oh, we don't believe it, right? They will say things like that. There may be a group of them that literally live in that type of denial, but I don't really believe that because you heard Tigris there talking, and that's really the underlying thing, right? I don't care because even if I did believe it, I don't care. So that's really the truth of those statements. And women keep pounding out the falsity. How do you say it? The falseness of those statements, right? It's not actually what they think. Another thing about it, oh yeah, myths. They're not myths. Like they literally know, like these people know. So they heard about all the rapes, right? In the end, the anger, they say, pervades everything. Today, a small but growing number of devotees, both foreign and Indian, all settled abroad, are rallying in anger, alleging that their divine avatar is nothing more than a sexual abuser of boys and young men. Now, there were women, little girls that he touched as well, but as we've talked about, these rapists, they may have a very specific preference, but they're just rapists, right? So why would they just not, you know, go and touch some girls too because they can? I think it's more of that thing. But his major preference, he's a gay monster. He wants to touch the young boys. So people are bringing their little kids to him to touch. And knowingly, which is the insane thing about this, one of them is Jeff Young, an American who was, till recently, president of the Baba organization in the South Central region of the U.S. He alleges that his son, Sam, was sexually molested by the good man from 1977, when Sam was 16, to the summer of 99. I mean, that's a long time, you guys. He was touched as a minor and groomed all the way until the summer of 99. So it means into adulthood, right? Thank Daddy there for bringing that shit around. Okay, and an allegation that was first carried in the Daily Telegraph of London. When contacted by India Today, Young confirmed the charges. The sexual abuse, including Baba grabbing Sam's head and forcing him to give oral sex. Sam's head and forcing him to give oral sex. Baba would fondle and suck on Sam's penis and get angry because he would not get an erection. Sam said he did not like boys that way. Baba then promised to change himself into a beautiful woman and take Sam inside of him, but it never happened. Sam was not into sexual contact with adult men, and then Baba then promised to change himself into a woman. Oh God. Okay, yeah, so he had this thing Yeah, there was a thing about dressing them up like girls. Okay, so then there's some cross. Yeah, there was a whole thing in here. So for the Youngs, this was shocking assertion initially because they've never revered Baba as a god for over 20 years. They now cringe because they have revered Baba as a god, but no human is a god. So you need to stop worshiping men. Why do all these religions have you worshiping a man? And getting men to fall in love with a man and worship a man? I mean, I think there's an underlying gayness here. Yes. And they hate women. Why would they keep women down at the bottom? They need us to populate, right? Because they need more men. But why would they keep something they claim that they love on the bottom? I know I've come at this topic a million different ways because you're trying to get people out of a cult, but, use your brain someday, people. Okay. They now cringe at the thought that they felt blessed in the belief that the good man, the God man, was ministering to their son's spiritual warfare and alleged that all along he was only subjecting Sam to systemic sexual abuse. Aren't they all? You bet. But also, beyond the sexual abuses that are going on with this thing, it's just about his own gratification, okay? On all these religions, every single one, the Jesus, the fucking whoever, okay? All of them. It's about power and control and their own sexual gratifications. That's one portion. But also for whatever they want, right? So he could tell Sam he's like a slave now, right? He's his slave. This is where I say slavery is totally part of male supremacy. So Sam is now a slave. And he tells Sam to go do something for him. And he runs off and does it for him. And then that's it. And he doesn't think twice about it, right? So they're like the perfect extensions, for him to go do all horrible things instead of the leader doing it, right? So he gets every idiot under the sun to go do it, and they'll never question it. So he's like, go buy up half the state of California. You're doing good work for me, okay? And then when you make profit off it, send it all to me. That's basically what's going on. So he's telling him to do all these things. So this is his idea. This is his construct of the universe that he wants. So he tells these morons to go do this thing. I'm not saying Sam is a moron because he's a kid that when this started, but you're talking about Isaac, right? So he's like, yeah, go open up the House of Blues, and get some, people of color into this bullshit. It's like this thing. It's insane. And they were all open to touching kids. Like, you wouldn't be part of this thing to fall in love with the male guru unless deep down inside, you're a little gay. So in one single visit, they recall they were given 7 private interviews while Sam was called in 21 times alone. In recent months, a litany of allegations similar to those of Young's has surfaced, mostly spurred by a document called The Findings that is available on the internet. This document, written by a former British devotee, David Bailey, lists graphic allegations of sexual abuse by a number of former Baba devotees. None of these celebrities came out to be like, oh my God, this is so terrible, we should stop raping little boys and blah, 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 blah. Oh no. There's been a lot of celebrities that want to be bullies and then shove the perpetrators in everybody's face, right? Yeah, so you've seen the opposite. So these people are part of that cult. And they think just because someone's gay, they should be protected from abusing other people. No. So we're seeing this. That's why I'm like, the gay monsters. It's really important to talk about the gay monsters because I actually think the majority of these people are gay. Why would they be doing this? They have an interest in they have an interest in males against their will. They do not like women. Nobody would be forcing women to be raped and be fucking married to them just to populate and fucking degrade the shit out of us and claim that that's love. It just isn't a thing, you guys. I don't know. It's so fucking whack. Like, the whole thing about it is whack. But again, women don't have the concept because it's what's seen as normal. Like, they're saying man and woman, right? That's what they're preaching. But the reality is they're telling men to be gay as well. And then they're telling women to be like a man and gender bend. Like, it's a weird thing. So I'm like, how much of this is like, there's a lot of questions to it because they were trying to de-sex us in the Christian cult. So, yeah, there's a lot to kind of still deep dive on those topics. And we're talking about child, the development portions and all those other things. I would go, yeah, there was quite an interesting message going on there that don't be female, or whatever this idea of a woman. And we have this other idea of what a woman is for you, but then at the same time, we want you to look like a man. But then we really want you to run around in little biker shorts. Like, what the fuck? Yeah, the messages are quite schizophrenic, right? But men, please take off your top anytime you want, boys. That's what they want to see. Because they're turned on by the males. They don't want to see the women because they think they're disgusted by women. They want to see the boys naked and they want all the little boys on their neck, right? That's a shit. So it's like a male leader going, men, please fall in love with me. Love me, dude. Love me. You're going to love me. I'm inside you. That's what it says in the book. I have the book here. So if you guys have any questions, I'll read his bullshit to you. But it has acted like a catalyst for others to come out and their stories and spawn more critical websites on Baba. Hari Sampat, a software engineer in Chicago who served as a voluntary inner security member of Baba's ashram from 92 to 95, claims, I have heard all these pedophiliac activities and I investigated them and found all of them to be true. And it was then that I knew I had to expose it all. Well, good for you, Hari. What happened when faith shatters? For the former devotees of Baba, it's as if an instant they have lost their God forever. It is a devastating experience that transports them from promised Masha to a private hell. A disillusionment that has 3 stages. Didn't we read this? I was like, but it somehow like repeated. So at some point here we go, Sam to systematic sexual abuse, and in one single visit they recall they were given 7 private interviews while Sam was called in 21 times alone. Sam Plott, others like him from the UK, US, Europe, and Australia have identified victims of sexual molestation by Baba and prompted them to give their accounts to the media in several countries. These increasing allegations are today being taken seriously in many Western countries. Nobody did. Leading to a rash of defections from the Baba groups. In Britain, following the Daily Telegraph story, Labour MP Tony Coleman raised the issue in Parliament. A former Home Office Minister, Tom, also took up the matter, saying the authorities have done little so far and that is regrettable. There is a movement urged the British government to issue warnings to people wanting to visit Baba's ashram. In Australia, too, the Sunday Age carried an article on Baba's sexual abuse. In Germany, Jens, a former devotee who claims he was molested, has filed a complaint in the public prosecutor's office. In Sweden, the Central Sai group has closed down, and so too has a school based on programs devised by educationalists in the Baba ashram in Puttaparthi. The U.S. disillusioned devotees are e-bombing Foreign Secretary Madeleine Albright's office every day. When contacted by India today, a State Department official in Washington said, our embassy in Delhi and our consulate in Chennai, I don't know where that is, have been made aware of these allegations, but this appears to be an issue for the Indian courts. Wow, they just like, whatever, they don't care. Americans, they don't care. Okay, this is bullshit. The impact of these allegations is difficult to discern within the Sai community. The majority of the devotees dismiss them because they don't care. Sheila Kumar, an Indian devotee for the Caribbean, who also teaches in the Balvikas, every avatar is this a woman? Sheila? Okay, let's listen to the woman who, his interest in women is low, other than that they need them to be, to populate, and that they need them as a minion to get other minions, right? And so this is how they answered it. Every avatar has an enemy. Doesn't this sound like a Trump defender, like the women, right? Just think of it like this, because it's not different. And I think people think it's different because it's like a guru or it's like from India or whatever. Oh no. This is exactly like the American women that, do this for Christians. The same thing. Think of this as that Fox host woman, sitting there defending Trump, and being very, what is the word? It's kind of passive aggressive. It's just conniving, something evil about it. Every avatar has enemies. Even Christ had enemies. What Baba has done, no one else has. And this creates jealousy. That's what they're saying. Others higher ups in Sai Baba ashram reasons that these allegations have been going on since decades, for decades and decades, right? As a senior member of the Sai organization, with every criticism, Baba becomes more and more triumphant. So isn't that very much like what happened to Trump, right? Like the more like the truth was coming out, their cult people, right, would say lines like they did. The female Karen, this is what you would call Karen. She'd be out here saying this on the media, right? And then all of a sudden this underbelly of lunatics comes in and they're worshiping the guy like a Baba, right? And then they become more Trump. Like they become more Trump. Yes. So the more you say it doesn't matter, because the reality is if you cared about rape or pedophilia or raping children, no matter what's going on here, you would sit there and stand back and say, oh, what? Oh no, these people are totally down with it. They're way down with it. And the other thing is, it could also be, in addition, is that Baba molested all these other people when he meets them and sexually molests them. And they're told this thing coming up here. The coterie that surrounds Baba attacks the molestation charges in two ways. One, by simply denouncing the whole thing as anti-Hindu attack. Okay, but they're not saying that he didn't do it, right? See, that's a difference. And nobody was sympathetic in that clip, okay, with the Tigers. No, he wasn't sympathetic. He's laughing. He's laughing at child rape. That was the cops in Northern California. I go, yeah, they were laughing at child rape. I go, so is Tigris. He's laughing at child rape. He's like, I feel really bad. No, you don't. Especially since most of those making the charges are foreigners. Okay, so now they're just like dismissing it. But they're not saying that they don't believe it. They're not saying it's not true. They're not saying any of those things. They're doing what happened to me when I pulled up the human trafficking ring with the Asians, right? That's part of their culture, honey. That just is, okay? That's part of American culture too. So, but they were specifically the ones to point out because those are their clubs. So I have to point it out because that's their culture, okay? And you hear people go, oh, it's racist or some bullshit. So therefore you should let them run a human trafficking ring. That's part of their culture, and their government's in part of that. Because for government in the Asian countries, that was them celebrating their success, right? So the government will go to those places and they celebrate and they get, those girls to sit at the table with them and drink with them. That's part of their culture. So, yeah, no. So they tried this here. So it's just the same tactics. Like they'll do these tactics like that. Or you're racist because you're saying black men raped a bunch of guys or, whatever it is, right? They'll use these things to try to divert, your attention from the real part of the problem. This happened too with the misconduct cops, right? They would try to override the topic of cops raping everybody, right? Oh, totally. It's not about you. I go, no, it definitely is about us. So I don't know what the fuck you're trying to go on. And then you find out they're all okay with it and they all admit it, right? I go, the down truth of this whole thing is they're fine with child rape. That's just it. So they go, and two, by preaching that everything that Baba does is a teaching. Oh, see, now this here is very Christian as well. And it goes, even if he's doing something that looks immoral or wrong, they claim he is doing it because of the purpose of a purpose, and so cannot be questioned. Now, the church actually teaches this as well. Now, he's a ripoff of the Christian doctrine, okay? So, it kind of explains. Yeah, I mean, there's rip-offs after rip-offs. I mean, depending on how far back you want to go, you could say the Bible ripped off of this or they ripped off of that. Anyway, there's some very similar languages in his stuff when he's talking about look to the Lord and pray. And I'm just like, oh God, if I want that, I'm just going to go back to the Bible. I mean, what the fuck, you know, like, but he does, he'll rip off like these things and kind of quote these type of things. So then it leads in Christians as well, because it's very close to what they were already indoctrinated into against their will, but it's something very familiar, so you can easily follow both those things. You could, you know, whatever. But the additions with him is cheap magic tricks and to worship him, basically. But they're saying it's for a higher good. Okay. Oh yeah, so Christians say don't question anything and don't read anything else because it's of the devil, right? They'll do this thing. So it's essentially the same messaging. And if you guys remember as being a kid back in the day, like you couldn't question a lot of things because they would shut you down. They wouldn't answer it. And then you're supposed to submit to every adult and respect every adult. And I'm like, no, there's some parents that need to go to fucking jail. You don't need to respect somebody that's disrespecting you like that. It's essentially the same messaging. It's saying that but here they're actually promoting it. It's like, if my guru is molesting these little boys, he's doing it for a purpose and you can't question it. So they're fine with it. They're like, don't question him. We've seen him molest people, but it's okay. He's God, so he could do that. Yeah, that brain right there. That's Tigris. The devotees are also countering the internet war on two fronts. First, everybody is encouraged to shun the internet. Okay, so as you see, America's trying to like mute down information. It's creepy as hell, you guys. I've never had this low of things on here ever. Like, they're really fighting me. It's great, but it'll change. It's gonna change, and they're gonna get smacked really fucking hard. Explains how gone. Okay, senior Sai official in New York. Swami tells us not to look at the internet, but at the internet. Oh, that was deep. The internet. Okay. And secondly, by posting sites that support Baba's teachings. Okay, so he's like no different than a church, right? No different than a Christian, right? Don't read anything else. Don't ignore the media, right? So if the media is saying like something legit, right? They're like, ignore that and only listen to us and totally cut yourself off from the external universe. Okay, a really smart person would never be steered off because some lunatic is going on. Okay, so half y'all aren't smart. If you need to cut something off and you can't deal with reading something that you totally disagree with, because I had to go through all this shit and I'm like, okay, yeah, I can pretty much decipher the lunatics to then on. So it wouldn't have any bearing on me if I'm reading other people saying, I read it every day, other people promoting rape on me and calling us liars, right? It's just part of the same tactic. It's the same tactic, but the mentality is they just hate us. That's really it, and they're totally fine with raping us. Okay, one such site, the Sai Critic, urges devotees to believe only their experiences with Baba, stating, when doubt walks in through... Okay, yeah, so what? Their experience, they got touched in the crotch, dude. But they're supposed to believe that it's for a higher purpose, so it's fine. Basically, the message is telling them it's fine when I do it, okay? So only listen to me. Faith walks out of the back door. This is bad wording considering what's going on here. But Baba's rebels continue to raise issue even if the mud hasn't stuck, at least among the devout yet. Most of them claim that there's a pattern of Baba's molestations. Usually, they add, he chooses his victims during his daily darshan and granted them private interviews. It's like a concert, right? These pedophile fucking singers, these rock stars that love to just run out and touch some boys. Where they're sitting there at their shows, they have the same mentality, right? They're like the guru. They're like Baba. They're like, which guy do I want to touch out here? Or which little girl am I going to take advantage of out here? And they beckon them in, right? And so this is the same thing. So he feels like a rock star. So he has these big, like, you know, things where he does his fake magic tricks. And I guess he points out to somebody, he's like, oh, I want that little boy right there, right? Come to me. So during his daily darshan, by granting them private interviews, and alleges that's the backstage pass, right? They're getting the backstage pass. So alleged Keith Ord, another former devotee who now lives in Spain, in the first interview, he rubbed me against his hips. In the second, he fondled my genitals. In the last, he was more forceful and kept saying, do you like to be close to Baba? I named my cat Baba. This is so horrible. I love my Babas. My Baba's one of my favorite animal ever, but I'm like, do you like to be close to Baba? I like being close to that Baba, but not this Baba. Okay. Baba, yeah, and so he uses love, right? So he forces that message of love. It's like, do you love me? You're supposed to love me. So you should love being on my body, kid. Yeah, this thing. And so the Baba, the critics allege, also frequently molests young students who study in the schools and colleges of his ashram, says one of the such former student, Krishna Kumar, who now works in Singapore. 4 of my classmates told me how Baba would occasionally oil their genitals. At first, most devotees believe this experience has something to do with awakening the Kundalini. Okay. To give them any yeah, what? Like claims Sompat, but they usually realize soon that this behavior. Oh, so imagine this. This is probably what's happening to Tigris, right? So he goes and he sees Baba, and they have a full sexual affair, right? And he loves him, so no matter what he does, he's fine with it. Oh, I mean, for someone to be that close and devoted and sending millions of dollars, oh, trust they'd be banging it away up in there. Students like Kumar allege that most people in the ashram know about these activities, and the boys that Baba chooses are dubbed informed boys. Yeah. So it's an open thing. That's what I was saying when I went through this thing. I go, no, it's like totally open. It's not that anybody doesn't believe it's happening. It's just that the perception of it is this is totally fine and it's from God, and so molest us to death. I mean, it's basically that. We're into kids. Rape us. There's no consent in this, and they're little boys. What are you guys doing? Yeah, they all knew. It's not even any of that. So the celebrities wanted to promote this, and it's no wonder you're sitting there seeing them in the industry. But the scary part is they will go murder people, you guys. Okay, that's an addition. It's not just, oh, that someone got sexually molested. It's that if one of these victims comes forward, he will just go, you know what, take him out. And so his devotees will go and kill you. And you don't know where the devotees are. You don't know who they are. They could be in government. They could be anywhere. And so you're dealing with this thing simultaneously with other stuff. And gang members know exactly the mentality because it's literally not different. You could literally put gangbanger on this thing. And this is P. Diddy at the top, right? And he's like, hey, guys, you need to go take out so-and-so. And then all these guys go after it. That's why I'm trying to put it together so people understand it's not really different. They're just different theatrics and how they form these groups of people. And they all basically are the same hot mess, right? So for them to get together in this industry like that makes sense. And how it has things going on here, right? Okay, so these informed boys, so you could look at it, the Justin Bieber at Diddy's house, the critics get academic leeway and are not really expected to follow the rules of the ashram. However, the form only lasts for a month or so, and these boys are dropped by Baba and subjected to too much torment by their peers. For many of these young boys, the critics point out the molestations are traumatizing because they can't tell their parents, who are usually devotees themselves. They suffer from depression and guilt pangs of having failed their God, who was only testing them. This is just insane. It's kind of like the polygamy thing too, like where the kids want to get out and the parents are all up in the cult, you know. And so as of now, there's no complaints that have been filed in India. India's a hot rape mess, okay? They have some of the top rapists out here, okay? Yeah, your religions are a pile of shit. Let's put it that way, because that's the fuel to this fire. Does that mean that most of the molestations were taking place with only Westerners? An American who alleged he was molested by Baba when he was 16 disagrees. I just think the Western boys are talking about it and the India ones aren't. Yeah. There's a reason why the men in India are raping everybody, okay? So we're talking about this dynamic of we're pretty sure that everybody got raped, okay? So then these ones come out, and then such as Hell Bell, Drake Hell Bell over there, um, who turned into a total socio and started harming a bunch of girls. And so it's not a thing like we don't believe he didn't get touched. We actually think he did get touched. And then he's one of those ones that he's such an abuser probably because of his parents. Okay, there's a parental thing in this as well. So, and then wants to sit there and justify him doing that and then disregarding it and saying it didn't happen. And then he's this major victim in this Nickelodeon thing, right? It's like this game that they play. So it would be like if these Baba people went out after they got touched from Baba and then started raping all these other boys after the fact. And they try to just go, oh, no, that didn't happen, but Baba touched me. It's like, F you. Because we know what the cycle is now. It is more than likely that somebody sexually molested these boys. They got groomed into this thing to be a pile of shit. Then they went on to go rape everybody. And then, you know, rinse and repeat, right? And the Western boys have less at stake. Critics point out the sheer power of Baba in India and how his devotees are in the highest rung of the government. Yeah, but they're in the government here too, but I don't know the extent of that thing. So obviously he had extended his cult across the globe, and mostly when you have somebody like the Hard Rock guy, millions of dollars, and a lot of celebrities, they are everywhere. I don't know if Ricky Martin's still in that. He probably is. But yeah, so you're looking at the idiots of this universe right here. It would take a lot of guts to take on Baba, they add, even among the Western cases, except for the one person who has moved court against Baba yet. I don't know. No one has moved court against Baba yet. Yeah, because everybody was pro-rape right here. Because I just started reporting stuff like the year following of the story. Critics said this because they know they won't have the power to summon Baba to court. The allegations pertain to Indian jurisdiction. Besides, even if a case is filed in India, to prove homosexual abuse is difficult. Criminal law all the religions, like criminal law experts say the offense would come under Article 377 of the Indian Penal Code, that lists sodomy as an offense. However, if actual sodomy hasn't taken place, as in all these cases, then proving an unnatural act is very difficult. Okay, so I guess initially that the only way they considered rape was to be sodomized. And as we've been talking, there's a million ways you could be sexually abused, and tongue in the ear is one. There's a lot of different things that they're not considering, and they should all fall under these things. But this is 2000, okay? There's a lot of problems in the laws because the rapist made them. Okay, but in the end, most of these disillusioned devotees say they are determined to fight, to initiate some kind of legal action and keep building pressure until something snapped. Glenn, who was a Baba devotee for 26 years and now mobilizes victims, is more second. I don't know. I put Baba in the highest pinnacle. For me, he was the god of gods. Now you're talking to someone who is putting in the same devotion to expose him. But the truth may still prove elusive. Okay. So they did this whole thing. Then they did a documentary. And then I skimmed the documentary. And I did that, I don't know, like 3-4 years ago. And then even before that, I did a whole thing. And then when he died, I was like, oh, these like two-faced celebrities, you know, whatever. Goldie Hawn was all pictured up in here and shit. And yeah, no, I mean, so it wasn't at a time that they didn't hear about these allegations. The thing what they were saying was, we don't care, because they're a bunch of psychotics. Yeah, and because there's organized crime in this, because they're part of the government, they kill their victims. They will kill people. They go out and they do harmful things to people in the name of this piece of crap guy that they're calling a religion, but it's a guy and a human pile of shit. And again, it's so odd to see men sitting there bowing down and grabbing some guys, you know what, for a religion, and not seeing the lunacy in the, I mean, the whole thing about it. Anyway, so the addition to the story was we see Diddy had some relation with these people. Regardless of how deep or whatever that relationship is that when these people see them with children and harming them, it's way fine. Christians will look at that and say it's way fine. People saying that they had a problem seeing something and then they didn't do anything, they're bullshit. I mean, where were you before? We had Me Too. Where were you saying anything? They're not the ones that are the victim in the story, you guys. So, I mean, if you're seeing something bizarre, then why wouldn't you say something? Instead, they like to come and target me and talk about how horrible a person I am, and I'm literally on point and you were not. You just want to be the one trying to act like you're right in the room instead of actually listening to what I've been saying for decades.